Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Trader Merlin Show. It is your Monday edition. I hope you all had a fantastic Thanksgiving out there. I know I did. I'm still coming out of my tryptophan coma. A little too much food eating, but it was a good day. Good, happy time. Hope you all enjoyed it as well. And then, how did trading go? I didn't make any trades on Friday. I was I had some orders pending for the half day to sell some calls against my Rivian, which I didn't get executed on. Oh well, even today, did not get executed on my Rivian. I was being a little bit picky. But we'll walk you through some of those trades and talk about more market stuff and the Intel CEO ousting, what that might mean for Intel, and then we'll just wrap it up. I'll call it fun. Now, this weekend I tried to separate myself a lot from the financial markets just to kind of not be overwhelmed with it and just enjoy things. Did some home projects and built a bunch of stuff around my place. So let's look at the questions that have come in. So I've been looking at the questions that came in, and several of you, Lisa and Margaret and Michael, sending in some feedback for me regarding MicroStrategy, open-to-counter markets, even Mara Riot Blockchain, or Mara looking to sell convertible zero-coupon bonds like MicroStrategy is doing. And I want to dive into all of that information in a more in-depth show. So maybe a little bit later on this week, I want to dive a little bit, look and do some research on OTC markets, because people keep telling me, oh yeah, they could buy 50,000 in the OTC market, no problem. And I'm going, no, that's not the way markets work. So I want to make sure before I give you guys information that I'm well versed on it. So give me a little bit to dive into that one. Jimmy says, how about our Niners? We knew that was going to be an appalling game. Come on, did you guys see the field conditions? It was brutal. 2 feet of fresh snow. I mean, it was fun to watch, but I told my buddy before the game, I said, we're going to lose by at least 20 points. And we certainly did. It was a horrible game. The good news is Niners are typically a second half of the season team, but now with all the injuries, we'll see if we can get back on track. I mean, our division still could be winnable, that's for sure, but let's not make this a sports show. Let's go and look at this one here. Hallelujah. All-time highs. And the reason I put back to all-time highs is there have been several markets that have not made it to all-time highs. And when I say markets, I'm going to be looking at the usual suspects, our big four. And I'm usually looking at 3. As you guys know, I don't... Yes, Thomasino, my team lost 2. Yes. But see, here's the thing. Everybody knows the Raiders suck. The Niners are supposed to be a good team. No, sorry. The Raiders, yeah, been a struggle for you guys. And maybe you'll get a better draft pick this year. So my 4 horsemen, S&P, NASDAQ, Russell, and Dow. And I actually don't really look at the Dow much, but I will bring up the Dow today. We'll start with the S&P, which is the dog that wags the tail in my opinion. And you guys can see here, we set an all-time high today, all-time intraday high, all-time closing high, just all-time, all across the board. All across the board. So beautiful for this one. And there were a couple weeks back, some people were talking about, the market rolling over and selling off. And again, as I am super bearish, knowing a big crash is coming, I've been saying, stay long, buy the dips. The trend is not broken, and that appears to be the case still to this point. We just keep trucking on that S&P to the upside. So go, 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 go. Bring it on. S&P was your number one, at least your best looking trend in my perspective. It is absolutely stunning. This is Hugh Hefner would make this a centerfold. It's so gorgeous. Number 2 on the list here, NASDAQ. Now, we did not break all-time highs today. You notice we established those all-time highs last week, November 11th. But the way the candle formed today, very bullish opening to a Monday morning, screaming, closing near the highs. To me, this looks pretty good. It makes me feel like the NASDAQ will be at all-time highs by the end of the week. Now, coming on the heels of that, sorry, I was teaching all morning. I have a crypto program I'm doing for the next 4 days, and I'm teaching 3 hours a day, so my voice is going out already. But you look here at our Magnificent 7, and people are wondering, well, why the big boost? Look, money was just pouring back into tech. A lot of in-favor tech stuff. Tesla was up 3.46%. NVIDIA up only 0.27%. Microsoft 1.78%. Meta 3.2%. You had Google up 1.46%. Amazon up 1.36%. And Apple 0.95%. Worst performer in that is NVIDIA. So all in all, tech looking great. And the reason I wanted to bring up Apple here is you also can see that it looks like it's broken out of this ascending triangle. If we were to draw some highs across here, we broke out actually on Friday's session. All in all, Apple looking great to the upside. I did make some comments earlier this year when they started to roll out with the iPhone 16 with Apple Intelligence. I'm a believer that that's going to have a pretty big impact on their price going forward. I also I tried to upgrade my phone. I'm recording a bunch of video footage with Larry Jacobson, which is why I will end this show a little bit earlier than normal today. And Larry Jacobson and I are going to be recording some on-demand option stuff, and I'm going to be using my cell phone to record in-house video footage for TikTok, Instagram, and things like that for Trading Academy. So I went to go get the iPhone 16, totally sold out at my stores. Totally sold out, all versions sold out at the stores. Bummer. Maybe that demand for the iPhone 16 is much higher than expected. So love the chart of Apple. You got a breakout going on right now. Really do think that they're going to have some fantastic numbers given the fact that they're sold out everywhere I look for this iPhone 16. Fantastic moves. Anyway, back to our top four. I did the S&P. I did the NASDAQ. Then there's my personal preference here, which is the Russell 2000, which, as I mentioned, I do think you'll see more upside potential from a percentage perspective. Main reason being cheaper rates, expansion, growth, money pouring into small cap stocks. Now, it achieved its all-time high on the 25th, so last Monday. It's been a week since it's hit an all-time high, but the trend looks great here. Still buying pullbacks. All in all, Russell 2000 looks really nice, building that trend to the upside and continuing to move, especially since we broke out from this kind of, ever since we broke out of this sideways action in 2021, it's been a nice sell-off sideways and now back to bullish moves to the upside. Get a Samsung. It's a better phone, camera, etc. I know. Here's the thing, and this is where Apple gets you. I hate Apple. Let's be clear. I don't like Apple. I don't like the total control they have, and they lock down everything, and the abusing of fees. However, what does a good business do? A good business creates a product and then creates other products that all tie together. And those products don't have to be, necessarily symbiotic. Having my Apple Watch doesn't necessarily mean I don't have to have a phone. But I have the phone, now I have the watch because it tracks all my exercise. And that's actually all the Apple products I have. But, I have some friends that have the Mac, they have all the iPads and all that stuff. It's just they kind of tie together. I actually really do like my Apple Watch a lot. Now, maybe I can do better with the Samsung. The problem is just everybody that I know has Apples. So when I'm competing, because I compete with a lot of people for exercise and workout routines, you guys remember I used to do a monthly challenge, which if you guys would like to do a challenge for the month of December, I'm open to it. I'm a day behind. We could start today if you want, do a December challenge. Mine's going to be fitness related and maybe work on my book a little bit. But in the competitions I do, I'll set it on the watch and it just makes it so much easier. However, I would rather have a Samsung. I would rather have a Samsung. More freedom, more that you can do with them. But Apple builds a great product that's really easy to use. And you're right, they make it sticky. That's the plan. Absolutely. I have a Garmin watch for far superior to another watch. But does it link up to Apple? I have to download the Garmin app, and then I can't, unless somebody else has a Garmin, I can't exchange information with them. That's the part that I don't like. All right, let me go back to my talk track. Yeah, Lori, I have a couple people that use a Samsung watch. Maybe I will look at get those. The thing is, especially the younger generation, a lot of them use Apple computers, which I don't. I'm a PC generation. I think you can kind of show your age by what computer you use, right? Oh, I'm a PC guy. Okay, good. You're a boomer or older. I use Apple. Oh, okay, great. You're Gen X, Gen Z, somewhere in there. All right. Does anyone have an Oura ring? Good question, people. Is that the little wedding band looking thing that you hold that tells you your heart rate and all that stuff? That's kind of cool too. I guess one of the reasons I like to watch is when I get a phone call or text, I don't have to grab the phone. I can just look at my watch real quick and say, oh, that's who it was. All right, let me finish up here, and then we'll go into the numbers. So Russell 2000 having a fantastic run, also nearing all-time highs, may hit it again this week. And then we'll look at the Dow. So the Dow, which I don't look at usually, has been even better than the S&P from a trend perspective. Gorgeous, all-time highs. And again, I think a lot of this is rotating out of maybe some of these tech plays into more diversified investments. Dow certainly is a bit broader in its reach, even just for 30 companies. I know the S&P is a broader mix because you have 503 companies, but you have less tech influence, I think, in the Dow. All right. Let me go back to this part here, talk about back to all-time highs. So let's look at our December results. I think it's no mystery who number one is on this list. Number two is kind of surprising, but we'll start at the bottom. We had that 10-year yield, right? So the 10-year yield was down 2.87%. All in all, it was looking absolutely fantastic. And then lo and behold, we hit that area of supply right around 4.5, and it's been just tanking ever since. And we've dropped almost 30 basis points in 2 weeks, which may not seem like a lot, but it is quite a bit. We've got a little bit to go till we get to that finish line. I still do believe we'll close above 4% for the year. But right now, a nice reprieve here on that 10-year, which is surprising to me, I will say. Oh, yeah. Thanks, Big Eb. See, this is what happens when I rush. I was rushing. I meant to say results going into December, but let me fix that. Thank you, Big Eb. Sometimes I love doing the show. Other times it makes me feel so stupid because of the little mistakes that I make along the way. Let's go to November. You know, when you're hastily running through it, as I am typically. There we go. There we go. Thank you, Big Ed. November's results. So that was the 10-year, 2.48 down for gold. Let me bring up the GC chart here. Bam. More chop. You know, the concern I brought up a couple weeks ago was we broke this most recent swing low. The swing low goes back to October 8th and October 10th. So not a great sign to have it break down below that. So it broke it, came down to this other area of consolidation that went from August 16th all the way to September 12th. It's going to sideways chop. We tailed down into that and ripped up from that. From there, it was like, where do we find our supply zone? Well, it was this last about face, and conveniently, on Monday, we hit that one of last week. Now you have this chop. So the question for me, the big uncertainty here is, where's this one going? You've got this nice uptrend that's been in place, really aggressive, and all of a sudden it failed to make a new high, and it started to make a new low. Technically, you could argue that this trend is over. Really depends on where we go over the next couple of days. Do we end up, I'll do what I normally do on my charts, my trading computer, but let me add them in here so we can see them. I will put a high amongst that high and a low there. So now this yellow box, to me, is what's defining what's going to happen with gold. Certainly, you could make some day trade, shorter term stuff, flexing back and forth in here. However, the big moves, the big money will be made on breakouts outside of that range. So at this point, just kind of sit on your hands and wait for the bigger move. If we do get a break to the upside, it'll give you more confidence that that trend is still intact to the upside. However, there is an area of supply just above it at 2,750 on gold. That said, if we can get down below these lows, which on this yellow box is about 2,541, you see a lot of potential stopping points and some unfilled gaps that could bring you all the way down to about 23.84 on gold. So again, could go either way here. At this point, I don't have a dog in that fight. The inflation talk makes me feel like it's going to break to the upside, but right now I'm not taking a side on gold. I'll wait and see what happens there. Next performer for the month of November was crude oil, down 1.82%. Now, crude oil really hasn't done much, and those ranges have gotten smaller and smaller and smaller. Chart-wise, my song remains the same. Morning, Chris. Good to see you. Hope you and your family had a great Thanksgiving up north. 1 year I'll get back up. I've had many wonderful Thanksgiving dinners with Chris and his family up there in Northern California. So hope your fam's doing well. Looking at this chart, compression, just sitting on that base. Again, I feel like we're just waiting for this thing to either have an aggressive break to the downside or pause, reverse, and get this thing moving to the upside. At this point, it's just becoming more and more boring with crude oil. So that was your number 5 on our list for the top month results of November. Moving on to number 4. It's 4 or 5. I can't remember which one this is. Dollar index up 1.82%. Now, this one is really critical because we keep jumping in these kind of half 50-cent intervals on the dollar index. And I do believe this is having a pretty big impact on our markets. And the trend since end of September has been absolutely incredible. We did break down below this 106 line on Friday, which kind of made me a little bit nervous, but today we ripped back up above it. Still, I'm arguing in direction of the trend and feeling like this trend is going to continue to the upside here for the dollar index, which means dollar higher, pushing down more of these other currency and cross pairs. Further up our list, we have, I think this is 4th place. 4th place is the NASDAQ 100 Tech, bringing things to the plus side, 4.85% for the month of November. And you can see there were some real nice moves up here. Of course, going back to election day, really was that nice big pop for 3 days straight. Gave back most of it, but now that trend is continuing on as a lot of appointments are being made and people being put in place to take different offices under the Trump administration. Some are, from an outsider perspective, I would say are good choices. Others kind of have you raising your eyebrow a little bit and going, really? That's the best choice you could make there? You guys might remember the TV show Seinfeld. I heard that Newman was going to be the new Postmaster General for the United States. No, just kidding. I'll get slack from that one. Anyway, having some fun with it. So NASDAQ 100, 4.85% for the month. Moving on up, we have 2 more to go after this. S&P 500, 5.45%. And again, what else is left to say other than beautiful? Anybody, or actually not anybody, most Americans right now are loving this. And I taught a crypto class this morning, and I keep going back to the chart of the S&P and the NASDAQ going back into the year 2020 and into 2000 and to 2007. You know, this chart, as great as it looks, I just can't for the life of me ignore this picture. And I've mentioned this to you guys many times before, but if you look here, these were two of the biggest crashes in U.S. market history. The dot-com bubble and the financial crisis are just appallingly bad. Like, goodness gracious, what a meltdown, right? And then if you fast forward, what looked like colossal moves up and down turn into nothing. They're insignificant blips on the radar when you look at what's happened with the chart over the long haul. Now, I know that Tom, who doesn't listen to the show anymore, I must have said something to offend Tom because he's left permanently, but he would say, well, look at it on a logarithmic chart, okay? If I look at it on a logarithmic basis, it's just as prominent, showing me that this has been an unbelievable market rally, and the vast majority of Americans are loving it right now. Their 401ks are stacked, they got money in the bank, things are looking pretty good. I mean, if you haven't prospered from 2009 through till today, your money was either not in the markets or you just missed the boat altogether. But I'm a big fan of history repeating itself, and as I mentioned this a year ago or 2 years ago or 3 years ago, you know, these markets do correct. And even if we got just a 50% retracement in the S&P from current levels, that'd only bring us down to about 3,006. So all in all, things looking great. Just be careful. I just feel like I don't know what would cause it. I mean, I have some ideas, I have some theories, but we'll never know until it actually happens. Even COVID was nothing compared to, I know, right? I mean, COVID, you would think that COVID was just be, catastrophic, but with all the shutdowns that we did. Well, was it a 50% decline? No, it was not. At its maximum point, it was 36. 36. Maybe you were all in on Cisco. No, never went all in Cisco. But I did lose a bunch of money on an earnings announcement on Cisco. $15,000 on a day trade. That was enough for me to not want to trade that one again. Oof, brutal. Oh, yeah, Cisco, you mean as far as not going anywhere? Yeah. There's a bunch of stocks like that. People get all excited about them, and you just look back historically like it's done nothing. Cisco, I guess when from a networking perspective, there's just so much competition in this space that it ate away at Cisco's market share. But here they are back up at, $59. But yeah, they stayed underwater for 20 years. They still have not reached those all-time highs. And that's the same for a lot of different companies. You look at something like Amazon, of course, that has dwarfed those 2000 highs, made them look like insignificant. I mean, if you dollar cost average, the peak in 1999 was like $5 and split adjusted for Amazon. Now it's 210. Crazy. All right, almost at the top. S&P was up there. Let's go 2 more. You have the Russell 2000, which of course we looked at. Russell, again, I think is going to be one that's going to prosper a lot in this coming administration. So keep your eye on small caps. I may allocate some into IWM, the ETF, just to have that in there and sell calls against it. But that's another gorgeous, gorgeous looking trend. And of course, the best there you go. There's your chart. My bad. That's your Russell. Fantastic, gorgeous, all-time highs. I think we'll be back there again, probably this week or next week. And then finally, gold. I'm kidding. Bitcoin, 39.59% gain for the month, and that's with a lot of gyrations, a lot of fluctuations. And, it's not just the month of November. It had a great September. It had a fantastic October, and we've had just 3 months. I'll pull up a monthly chart here so you can kind of see what's going on with Bitcoin. We've had 3 consecutive months in a row. Of course, this last month was the best performing one. Let's go from that to that, and there you see your 39.59% gain. Love it. I know many of you here rejoicing with that one. That's fantastic. I think we're due for a pullback. I really do. I think it's got a little bit ahead of itself, and a pullback would be welcome for me. Maybe I'll try to get to my target acquiring with Bitcoin. I've got a little bit left to get to reach my goal there with Bitcoin, but we'll see if I decide to add some more to that or keep it in other places. Anyway, that's your best performer. Again, the class I was teaching this morning, we talked a lot about Bitcoin and its prospects going forward. Still looking absolutely fantastic, particularly if we get the strategic reserve established for Bitcoin. I think that the numbers we're looking at today will just be we'll laugh at those in a year or so. So there's your Top 8 markets for November. Not too shabby. I mean, thinking that the gold and 10-year were down only 2%. Not that big of a deal. Looks good. He says, what pullback? I thought we were to hit 100,000 before the end of the year first. I thought so too. I mean, technically the futures did. Maybe we'll get to 100,000, but overall it's been such a big move that it feels like there needs to be a retracement. Now, if we go off of technical analysis and pull on that CMT hat, you look at the trend here, it should be breaking and making a new high here. All right? We really put it in a box. I know, we've all seen Footloose, I think, which is, you don't put baby in a box. Don't put Bitcoin in a box. And you go here, and you can see that big sideways channel here. We tippy-tailed into the all-time highs on Friday, but we didn't break 100,000 on the spot price. We broke 100,000 on the futures just by $300. It's the second time we've done that. So really, for me, this is the yellow box that matters at this point. If we get down below that lower band, or lower box part, which is what, $92,000, then I think you might actually fill this unfilled gap on the futures market, which brings you back to 77,000. So not. Was this crypto class online? Yeah, Joe, this was for a different company, but yeah, I do. The crypto class I teach is for Trading Academy. That's the bigger program. But another company has asked me to build them a crypto program, which I've taught for. So generally, I'm doing the crypto program for Trading Academy and much more recurring pieces at Trading Academy. So there you go, Johnny. Good to see you, my friend. All right, let's go from that to... I don't know where I want to get to. I did sell some puts today on MicroStrategy. I was kind of not wanting to, a little bit skeptical. You know, you look at the price of Bitcoin, obviously is a big factor in it. If you look at Master today, MSTR, the premium was just so good on MicroStrategy, and it has been for the past few weeks. I know a lot of you are big into the MicroStrategy futures. I sold not the 350s. I sold not the 340s. I sold the 350s today, which is higher than I wanted to go, but the premium was just too good, and I'm actually fine to own MicroStrategy in that 350 range. So there's the 350 strike price for MicroStrategy. The premium I got on that today was just over $10 per contract. So, you know, for the week per contract, you're looking at $1,000, all expiring Friday. So Friday expirations here on MicroStrategy. All in all, we'll see. We'll see how it all pans out, but it, you know, should be all right. I live for him. I have 2 sisters. All right. Congrats on the 2 sisters. I've got a half brother. LTCN up 35%. Now, Litecoin, before we dive into LTCN, which is a trust by Grayscale, you got to understand what Litecoin is. Litecoin is a copy of Bitcoin. A copy. It has taken Bitcoin's code, analyzed it, said we want to make it 4 times faster and 4 times as many. So Bitcoin has 21 million Bitcoin. Litecoin has 84 million. The block time for Bitcoin is 10 minutes. The block time for Litecoin is 2.5. So it's 4 times faster and 4 times as much. So people call Litecoin the silver to Bitcoin's gold. It uses a script algorithm, which is slightly different than what Bitcoin uses. It's still proof of work, but it uses a script hashing algorithm, which allows for, some will argue, more fair mining. It prevents people with ASIC miners having an advantage. Is it something that is going to, I guess, take over the crypto world? Is Litecoin that groundbreaking product? I would argue no. Now, to be fair, I do own Litecoin. At one point, I had 360 of them, but the issues that happen over at Celsius and Voyager and BlockFi have caused me to lose like 75% of my holdings in there. So I've only got a few less than 100 left. I think I have like 60 left. So Litecoin, fantastic. You know, it's been on a nice run. I'll bring up the crypto side of things so we can see here on the spot price what happened to Litecoin. What's unique about Litecoin is the community, right? So you have a couple people that are huge popular influencers. John Kim, I believe, is one of the big guys. And he has been pumping and pumping and pumping. He's got millions of followers. He's been pumping this one. So yeah, Litecoin has been doing great, and I'm happy for it. You know, I love the fact that Litecoin's had such a big run. But part of the analysis, part of what we have to look at with crypto is, what is this project going to accomplish? What is it hoping to accomplish? I mentioned in all the crypto programs I've taught is when you're looking at buying into this industry, it's not just, oh, I'm going to throw money at this and hope it makes me money. To me, that's gambling. I'd rather put my money into something where I say, I understand what you're trying to achieve. You have identified a problem or a flaw in our financial network or some area where you say, I have a solution and a digital asset fixes that. For me, I clearly understand what Bitcoin is trying to solve. I understand that the banking system is fraudulent in many cases. It's a fractional reserve banking system that will freeze your assets at any moment in time because they want to, and they pay you almost no money to hold your crypto or your currency. So I understand that. I understand Ethereum and Solana, what they're trying to achieve. Litecoin just simply said, I'm copying Bitcoin, making it faster and more of them, and that's it. Big Ed, yes, it is capped at 84 million. Right? So it has the same emission curve. It has a halving cycle. Everything is identical except the block time, and the hashing algorithm, right? So the block time and token amount. So that's pretty much it. I love it. I do like Litecoin. I just don't know if it's the project that's going to survive and become, a staple. Certainly, I think it's better than Doge or Shiba Inu or Pepe. They're a payment network. Now, this guy John Kim, he is working on another project called AMP, which I'm not a big fan of. It sounded a little bit fishy to me, although it might change in the future. And here's AMP. What AMP is trying to do is create a payment network, a way to make payments with cryptocurrency and digital assets that's faster, and anybody could use it. I like that, and I think what's going to happen is AMP is going to integrate Litecoin, because this guy, John Kim, is connected with Litecoin. He's made millions off of Litecoin, and now he's pushing AMP, and I think that he's going to try to tie these two projects together. He made a big investment in Trump crypto. Who did, PBJ? Who made a big investment in Trump crypto? Whoever did, foolish, silly. XRP, we could definitely check out XRP. XRP, which again, I'm not a huge fan of because I think that there's plenty of other competition, has been absolutely smoking it lately. Look, I'm not complaining. I own a lot of Ripple. I bought Ripple. This makes me feel old. I'll have to go back to a weekly time frame. I bought Ripple back here, right? When we were at 17 cents is when I bought my Ripple. Back in November 2017, right? This whole period back here is when I was buying my Litecoin, and I bought a lot of Litecoin back then. So yeah, I'm absolutely super stoked. Although, if you look at the picture here, you can see that Litecoin actually hit a high of, what was it, $3, $3.30 back in January of 2018. So, we're still not back to the high point that I was at. But yeah, who doesn't like to see a 479% rate of return in 4 weeks? I mean, that's a monthly rate of return that we'd all dream about. So yeah, love it. I'm excited for it. Unfortunately, most of my Litecoin has disappeared, although I do have some left. So, Justin Sun. Ooh, that guy's crazy. So the guy Justin Sun, who those of you might not know, here's a little market history. Justin Sun took a copy of Ethereum. He took Ethereum's code, he copied it, and he created a program called Tron, a crypto project called Tron. Not only did he copy Ethereum, he literally took Ethereum's white paper, which is their business plan, did a search and replace for everything that said Ethereum and replaced it with Tron. Just picture perfect copy of the white paper. So he's lazy, and some would argue a very shady individual who basically just stole whatever Ethereum was doing and tried to make his own. Now, I'll give it to him. At one point, his project was worth billions of dollars. When he was at the height, he took a lot of his money out and he started buying other projects. He bought a ton of different cryptocurrency or assets that are like physical. Like he bought BitTorrent and a few other companies with his profits. Smart move to spread that around. He also bought Poloniex, so he has his own exchange. I mean, Tron actually has some potential now. It's not like Pepe, which does nothing. Tron actually has a product, has a blockchain, has a community, and has other assets tied to it. Brilliant move. He also is the guy, as you posted here, Liz said, is at the banana eating fame. Yeah, he bought paid $6.5 million for a piece of banana, or for a banana duct taped to a wall. If that doesn't spell stupidity in the United States or in the world, I don't know what does. Look, I will duct tape any piece of fruit to the wall and call it art if someone here wants to give me 10 grand for it. You don't have to give me 6.5 million. Anyway, he took off he took the banana down and ate it. $6.5 million just thrown away like that. Anyway, yes, that is the same Justin Sun. There is some legal issues with Justin Sun and Tron, which is TRX, which should be right. Oh, I guess I don't have Tron on here. I'll bring up Tron here as well. Anyway, Ripple, you know, you've heard me badmouth Ripple quite a bit, and the main reason is there's other companies that are doing exactly what Ripple can do, and that would be like Stellar Lumens, Cardano, Hedera Hashgraph can do what Ripple does better. Ripple is not decentralized. Ripple is centralized. It's run by the Ripple Labs, and Ripple Labs has 40% of all the tokens in their possession, and they could sell at any moment. Not worth the risk, in my opinion. I will probably dump all my Ripple next year, but right now I'm just keeping it. I mean, there's no reason. My dollar cost average price is, you know, under 20 cents, so I'm fine with this one. Now let's look at Tron real quick. TRX, and we'll go into Tron Tether. So this one has not had as much of a run from those lows, but it's still moving to the upside and showing some gains. You know, a lot of people don't like Justin Sun. They think he's a con man. You know, part of me thinks he is as well. But as long as you're building the ecosystem, promoting the community, and building crypto environment, it's kind of hard to fault you. So he just does some weird stuff, especially buying a picture of a banana or a banana on a wall and eating it. Silly, silly, silly. All right, let me see here real quick. Well, premium like that, if you get put MicroStrategy, it really be like 340. Yeah, exactly, Technician. And that's what I'm thinking in my mindset is if I get the 350s exercise to me this week, and you know, I'm playing a percentage game. We know that MicroStrategy is extremely volatile, and the more I'm digging into it, the more I just question what MicroStrategy is even doing. But if you look at the 350 target here, MicroStrategy would have to fall 8% by Friday. Absolutely possible. There's no doubt in my mind that could happen. You know, we were down 7% today. It's already down another 1.83% in the new session. So I might get it at 350 if I really want it. I mean, I can always close it out, but yeah. He could have helped out a lot of poor folks with that $6 million. What a waste. Yes. And this is where you learn about the integrity and who people are and who you respect in the industry. If you look at somebody like Justin Sun, not a lot of respect as a humanitarian. You know, he'll argue he's trying to do good. There is one individual that I think everybody should just kind of know who he is and respect what he's done, and it's Vitalik Buterin. So Vitalik Buterin is the quirky, weird, bizarre kid who started Ethereum. It was him, Charles Hoskinson. There's two other guys that started. I can't remember the names off my guy that started Consensus and the guy that runs Polkadot. Anyway, those four kind of created Ethereum, and Vitalik has been just giving money away. He was given, I think it was $3 or $4 billion worth of Shiba Inu stock, or Shiba Inu share tokens. So he sold it and donated $1 billion to an Indian relief fund after their major disasters they had there. $1 billion. No country, no government gave him $1 billion, but Vitalik did. And he just gives his profits to charity. That is someone that you should respect in the industry. He's trying to use crypto as a method to level the playing field for the world and make it a better place, not make himself a bunch of money. Justin Sun is trying to make himself big money. That banana harvesting has been on display before in one museum, and some Korean dude ripped it off the wall and ate it with on. Can you imagine being the curator at that museum? You're like, sir, that's not a vending machine. Oh, can we get another banana over here? Because no one will know. Just Joe Lubin. Thank you, Liz. Yeah, Joe Lubin is the guy that did Consensus, and you know, he's a for-profit guy too. I believe. I think that I think that he is definitely out for profit. You look at something like Charles Hoskinson. Well, I think Charles Hoskinson is out for profit. He does a lot of good. He's building hospitals and trying to help make the world a better place, but none come close to what Vitalik has done. I mean, if you literally give away $1 billion, I mean, come on, man. And you know what's interesting about that whole story? It just disappeared. It wasn't like, to me, that should be headline news. Man gives $1 billion of his own money to charity to help out people in need, not, eats a banana off a wall for $6.5 million. It's just bizarre. But yeah, for those of you who might be new to crypto and interested, just type in Vitalik Buterin on YouTube, and you'll see there's one video in particular that just really drives home the point of how intelligent this guy is. It's basically, let me see real quick. He was being interviewed at a technology show in San Francisco. And I'm going to see if I can find the one. There's one in particular I want. He's got like laser beams on his shirt. Here it is. It's a 25-minute interview, so I'm gonna apologize because it's going to make some sound here. But for those of you who are interested, watch this interview, okay? It's very abundantly clear There's the link. It's abundantly clear that he's on the spectrum, right? He looks so uncomfortable. He just does not look like this genius that he is. He's got, bad complexion. His hair's disheveled. He's got a shirt with clouds and rainbows, and llamas with unicorns, and spaceships and laser beams. And he is so uncomfortable. When this interview starts, he's literally just doing the catatonic rock. He's just rocking back and forth, rubbing his hands and arms. You can tell uncomfortable. When I first saw it, I'm like, what is this? Why is this guy even sitting on stage? It doesn't look like he should be there. And then the guy who does the hosting asked him some very pointed questions about digital assets. And man, he flipped into a mode that just said his mind is programmed on a whole nother level of intelligence. A brilliant mind. And he is using Ethereum as a platform to make the world a better place and really do a lot of good stuff. 100%, Lisa, you never judge a book by its cover. You hear that cliche so many times, but as you get older, you really do understand the value of that. He's one that if you looked at the cover of that book, you'd just laugh. You're like, what is this, a cartoon? This is a comic book for kids? And then the door opens, you're like, whoa, man, I would love to just have long conversations with this guy. There's also interviews that he's done with Lex Friedman as well that are very, very good. So anyway, wanted to share that one with you. There's good people out there that I think need to get more attention. Particularly, I've been given $1 billion. Okay, Pat Gelsinger. So Pat Gelsinger was the CEO of Intel, and Intel has struggled. We've talked about Intel. We talked about some of the chip makers, and I said, look, out of all of them, I think Intel is one that I would be looking at acquiring and building a position in because A, it's been beaten down so much, and they've got billions of dollars in the wings here, building infrastructure to take chip making in the United States to another level. So I asked for AI to make a graphic, and this is what it came up with. I said, talk about CEO replacement, and this is what I got. I got two CEOs kind of facing each other. What does this mean for Intel? Well, look, I think Big Eb made a comment earlier that said, look, it couldn't get much worse at Intel. The turnaround that this guy was brought in to do, it just hasn't happened. And of course, these things take a long time. If you are someone that's a real small company, it's kind of like going down a river in a Zodiac. A small company can change directions like this. You're nimble, you're agile, just move all over. Intel is like, what do they call it? The quantum of the seas. This cruise ship that just to do a 180 turn takes like an hour and a half. Like it's so long to turn these things around. Intel is a behemoth. It's a juggernaut. So these types of turnarounds can take some time. Now, who knows if a new CEO will do the trick? But I guess shareholders and the board have had enough. So they forced this guy into retirement. Basically, he was pushed out. And you look at the price here. Look, it's doing okay. Nothing, stellar. Certainly, it's down on the year when you look at the overall number percentage. But it's now making higher highs and higher lows. It's slowly stair-stepping up. You can see it, right? Breakouts, trend sideways. Breakouts, trend sideways. See if we get that next breakout and close this gap right around $29 on Intel. All in all, I think that this replacement of the CEO is actually pretty good for Intel. It's a shakeup. People need to have it. Let's have a shakeup here, get a new guy in place, and see if this ends up pushing this market higher. So I like the shakeup. Typically, when you lose a CEO like that, the price of a stock crashes big time. Not with Intel. That should be a very telling sign. I think many of you have a lot of experience in the markets, and almost every time, say like 99% of the time when a CEO is stepping down or is replaced, share price just tanks. Nope, not with Intel. So to me, that's actually a pretty positive thing, is the Intel chart here. Even of losing your CEO, your price barely even moves. Fantastic. I think this is probably long-term good news for Intel. Let's see who they put into place. I didn't look and see that, but they'll be stepping down. So wanted to bring that one in there. Supposedly Vitalik's IQ is 257. Wouldn't surprise me. I've read a book. I actually interviewed a guy on Trader Merlin show, Matt Leising, I believe was his name, and he wrote a book on Vitalik Buterin and the whole history of it. Very, very cool. I forgot the name of the book already. I can't remember the name, but it was a great book. Really profiled how he was just the savant kid. Savant, crazy, intelligent child, and good for him, man. I was able to tour the 700-acre Intel plant. Wow. I bet it's amazing. 700 acres, man. That's a giant piece of property. And, again, building those factories is going to take so long to do. I'll be honest, it's kind of striking. When did the I'll type it in here, but come on, Merlin. Notre Dame. When did that burn down? Oh, 2019. Okay, so it's been 5 years. Wow, it just doesn't feel like it's been that long. I was shocked at how the cathedral at Notre Dame is all back to normal. They restored it fully. It's open. It's now going to be gone through. I didn't realize it was 2019. I thought it was like 2022, 2020. I was like, man, they made it so quick. And, building out these factories, particularly for chip making and semiconductors, requires not only a great attention to detail, but making sure everything is done precise, especially with these huge factories. And that's going to take years. So the Intel play that I'm looking at is not like, the next, month or two. It's a long-term thing. I definitely would like to know more about what Intel plans to do on the GPU front. We know that Intel is CPU, but are they making great strides in the GPU? I have this feeling that CPUs will be obsolete in the next few years. We're demanding so much more for our computers. It's mind-boggling. You guys, I have, where is it? I have these little USB thumb drives. This one right here has got 128 gigs on it. 128 gigs. I went through my garage storage last night. I'm cleaning up, doing all kinds of organization. And I had these huge hard drives that were like 200 gigs. So my little thumb drive has almost as much of this giant hard drive space. So getting rid of those things, and technology gets faster and faster and cheaper and cheaper. To me, it's like we all going to demand GPU performance and maybe something even faster down the road. So unless Intel changes from the CPU side of things, their future may be hurting. But I think that they'll make the change. I want to see how many new jobs come with these new plants. It's a good question to ask. My guess would be it's going to be mainly automation. I think a lot of it will be automated facilities. AI, robotics, and that's not necessarily going to bring a lot of jobs. Certainly the construction side will bring in jobs, and there will be a lot of employees, but I think that it's the technology side now where a lot of those jobs could be replaced by robotics. And it won't be as many as we would have seen maybe a decade ago. All right, what else we got to talk about today? Anything else that you guys want to discuss before I jump off to our earnings calendar and not earnings calendar, our earnings calendar, which is nothing, and our economic calendar for this week. Let me bring this up, and I'm going to take off. I have it just on U.S. markets. Let me remove all that. We really not much today except the manufacturing data that came out. You had ISM manufacturing PMI and final manufacturing PMI. Both numbers showed improvement, which is good. However, when you look at that, we're still below zero. And we've been below zero since 2023. We've had like one blip to the upside in April of this year. Other than that, everything is underneath 50. That's not good. That means contraction, economic contraction. We'd like to see it up above zero. But I guess the saving grace here, the good news is it's starting to creep back up towards that 50 line. So even though the numbers beat, still below zero, not a good thing. Now for tomorrow, if you look at Tuesday's calendar, you can see here for the U.S., you've got the TIP economic optimism numbers. You've got two FOMC members with Kugler and Goolsbee will be speaking, and our first piece of jobs data for the week, which is going to be JOLTS job openings. Now, we have multiple pieces coming out this week of economic data. The one that's really exciting is going to be the non-farm payrolls on Friday, as well as the unemployment rate on Friday. That, my friends, will be your big day. Earnings, there's nothing really to speak of here. Let's see, what do I got question-wise? Making me feel old, Merlin. Next, you'll start talking about the DOS days. Oh, man. I actually learned how to program in DOS early on. Lotus 123, yeah. Oh, God, it's crazy stuff. Good old times. Jay, good to see you. With Litecoin, every 4 you own is equal to the holding percentage of one Bitcoin. Only 1 million people can own 84 Litecoin, which seems weird. Yeah. Technically, you would be correct, right? If you're going off the same level of scarcity that if you own one Bitcoin, that should be 4 Litecoin, because technically it's 4 times as many. As a percentage of the whole, you'd have the same amount. Yeah, and based off of that, I had 360, I believe, was my peak number. Man, I wish I had. If I had 360 Litecoin, that means I should have had like 90 something Bitcoin. Unfortunately, I wish I did, but I did not have 90-something Litecoin. But don't necessarily think that that those ratios have to remain constant, right? Litecoin does not have the perception or reputation that Bitcoin does. Bitcoin has the stamp of approval from regulators, from the SEC, right? SEC has said it's a commodity. The CFTC is governing that one. And everybody's like, Bitcoin is a household name. Litecoin is not a household name. And if you're in the crypto world, you know it. But most people, Litecoin? Oh, you mean Bitcoin? No, they're separate. I think that Bitcoin has that huge advantage. Now, you could make the argument that Dogecoin has similar principles as Bitcoin. I would argue that's true. Remember, it's a copy. It's a fork. Someone just took the code and made Dogecoin with it as a joke. Could it be a Bitcoin? It could, theoretically, but it'd have to have mass adoption. You'd have to get a lot more people to use it. Right now, not a lot of people are using Dogecoin. Let me see if I can bring up for you here. There's a website called Blocktivity. It used to be there. They're actually selling it. Let's see if it's gone now. So here Bitcoin activity last 24 hours on Bitcoin is, 1 million transactions. Dogecoin is half that, 567,000 transactions. And most of the Dogecoin stuff is just pure speculation. The Bitcoin stuff is store of value. It's people buying it, typically holding on to it. So I would argue that the basis of Bitcoin's existence is significant, whereas Doge was meant to be a joke. They're just gambling on it. You look at some of these other ones. Remember we talked about Tron? Tron did 7 million transactions last 24 hours. That's a lot of utility, a lot of people using it. WaxP, EOS, all posting very nice scores here from transactions. WaxP is just a protocol used by a lot of gaming sites, which is why you have a lot of transactions. So you have a lot of people buying things in games using WaxP, but that creates a lot of transactions, a ton of transactions as you make these small kind of micro purchases. Litecoin is about 136. Yeah, it was moving up. I don't know what it's at right now. Because I know what you're going to say, Big Eb. Big Eb is like, well, if it's a quarter Bitcoin, then it's undervalued. And you could make that argument. Here is LTC. Let me bring up Litecoin. 137 is where it's at right now. Is where Litecoin's at. And if you times this by 4, well, you're looking at something that should be right around $600. I mean, it means Bitcoin should be about $600, which tells you the demand for Bitcoin is exceptionally higher. So just because it's 1/4 or 4 times as much Bitcoin doesn't necessarily mean it has to go up, right? It's about dominance. It's about people wanting it. You can make those metrics and say Litecoin is 4 times as many as Bitcoin. However, if people don't use it, demand's not there and price won't go up. And that's what it boils down to. Again, there is no other cryptocurrency in the world that you're going to hear, at least for now, that central banks around the world are going to be adding to their portfolio. I don't hear about any government in the world saying, let's make a Litecoin strategic reserve. However, the Bank of Canada just recently talked about they're going to do a strategic reserve with Bitcoin. Argentina said the same thing. Brazil, other countries saying we're going to have a strategic reserve in Bitcoin. So demand skyrockets, and then those valuation metrics go off the charts. Do you think Doge will keep going up because it seems like Trump is pushing the name? Yes. Johnny, good question. I'm not a fan of Doge. Again, I think it's a joke. It was designed as a joke. That said, I do think it's going to continue to move up. And the main reason is Elon Musk is the Doge. He is the Department of Government Efficiency. He is the Doge. And he's playing games with people. Now, the average person, if you understand what Doge does, you realize it doesn't really do much, doesn't have a lot of acceptance anywhere. It's just a name that people like to pump. I think they would keep on getting this pushed to the upside. The Doge that we see on the screen here has nothing to do with the Department of Government Efficiency. And people keep asking me, Merlin, do you think that Elon Musk is going to use Doge as a government currency? Absolutely not. There's no way the government would allow this to be their currency. They might create their own. Could Elon Musk use this to be a currency for X and Twitter? Yes, he could, but he would lose control there, and he may want to have control of those types of investments. So I do think that Doge will continue to move up just because it's being pumped with crypto overall, as well as the Elon Musk phenomenon. So yeah, absolutely. Musk is just insane. He might be clinically insane. He's having a great time. His tweets are off the charts. I'm actually enjoying his tweets, especially when he goes after certain people. Cracks me up, but it's what it is. I think the whole crypto industry is going to pump. You're going to have a lot more volatility over the next year, that's for sure. But I think overall, you're going to see significant upside movements as the doorway opens to institutional investment. The battle will come after the 20th. Yep. Exactly, Margaret. And that's going to be one where like we'll probably have bowls of popcorn, sponsored by Trader Merlin, and just watch what happens, because you're going to have a lot of drama next year after these cuts start coming in. Remember, Elon Musk can't make the cuts. He can propose them. This is not an official government agency. It's an outside branch advisory. So he could say, hey, you need to get rid of this one and this one and this one. My guess is Trump won't be as aggressive as Elon Musk wants to be. If Elon Musk had carte blanche, holy cow, it could be absolutely crazy next year. But he doesn't have that power. I don't think he will be given that power either. It still have to go through some regulatory and voting, etc. I like Elon, the genius car maker, rockets market guy. Don't like the political guy. Yep, I'm with you. I don't like the politics side either. I think that if you're that powerful, you're that rich, you're that prominent, you shouldn't be in the business of swaying people's votes. But then again, that's business. That's business. All right, I'm going to run. I got things to do. I didn't realize. I said it's going to be a short show today, but here you are, pulling me back in. Give me a couple days, and I'll do a more of a special on the MicroStrategy over-the-counter markets. Mara doing a zero coupon bond convertibility piece as well. Some interesting things happening in that crypto space. By the way, MicroStrategy bought another 14,000 Bitcoin, so now they're up to 405,000 Bitcoin, I think. Man, they're going for it, going all in. I tell you, either this is the extremes here, guys. What MicroStrategy is doing is going to fall into one of two categories when all the dust settles. On one side could be the most brilliant financial move we've ever seen done in the markets, where one guy is just cornering the market in Bitcoin. On the other side, it could be an absolute colossal failure. If something goes wrong with that strategy and he starts to get leveraged out of his positions, MicroStrategy by itself could cause a forced liquidation across the board for a lot of different firms, and that could cause an implosion in crypto. So I'm hoping it's on this side where it keeps on going. But just keep in mind, there is that potential for MicroStrategy to have a big black swan event on crypto, and it's making me a little nervous, but we'll have to do some more digging to see how risky that might be. All right. Thank you, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. Have a fantastic remainder of your day. If you got things you want me to talk about on tomorrow's show, email me at tradermerlin@gmail.com. It's on your screen right now. So I will see you guys tomorrow, and hopefully I'll have some calls sold against my long position on Rivian at a nice premium price of maybe $12.50 or $13. Until then, see you tomorrow.